Chattanooga262's YouTube channel. Today we are playing Factorio. This is episode 2 in the series. Today we'll be setting up electricity and the first steps toward automation of your factory. Let's get started. Alright, so just picking up right where we left off, grabbing a bit of coal out of our burners. Gonna go grab a little bit of copper because we do need the copper to start setting up electricity. Now, a couple of basic things you'll need for electricity. You're gonna need a offshore pump, and that pumps water out of a lake or a surrounding body of water. Next thing you'll need is gonna be a boiler. This heats your water so that the steam engine can produce steam, basically. And then you have your steam engines, which just require iron. Now, you'll note that these require electronics, and to make electronics you need 3 copper. And the boilers require stone and a stone furnace. Now, the other thing you will probably notice is that those had power ratings on them. This means that we are going to need to fuel them, and instead of fueling them by hand, I would much rather run it along a belt. Now, to get that set up, we're going to need my usual setup, at least. We're going to need 1 offshore pump, 14 boilers, and 10 steam engines. This is a basic steam column, and the way I usually do it is I set it up with burner inserters because they're already taking fuel off of the line and inserting it. The difference between the regular inserters and burner inserters is burner inserters are slightly cheaper, but they do consume fuel to actually run. We'll also want a couple of pipes, and we will need these electric poles here, which are made out of wood and copper, as you could imagine. Now I'm just making my way over towards the lake, and I'm going to build a couple of components, and then we'll be all set. And as you can see, I queued all of that up down here. And if you press the up arrow, you can see what's in line. Now, this is the slow way of crafting things. You can do this throughout the game, but I usually much prefer to automate the system as I go. I'm just kind of deciding where I'm going to put my steam column now and what's kind of cleared out. We actually have this nice coal deposit right here. I didn't notice that before. So I'm actually thinking that I might clear this out, and then we can just pull coal off of here. Straight onto the main bus for the steam engines. That'll make it remarkably easier to pipe over, and then I can have the other coal for our smelting later on. As you can see, I am still dealing with more trees. I have not yet enabled the 2 mods which I normally use, the extra light mod and the tree collision mod, so I'll be adding those within one of the next 2 episodes or so. And that'll also allow you to see kind of what I'm doing better at night, because the night cycles are kind of long in this game. I'm just waiting on stuff to finish crafting now. As you can see, it is almost done. Alright, so as for my basic setup, this is pretty much what I do standard. I'm going to move this all the way over. That way, if I want to later, I have room for another column of steam engines. And then I'm going to start with an underground pipe, and now these can travel out to 10 distance away, but they do cost 10 pipes to make. So 10 pipes, even though that equals 2, it's still costing you 10 pipes to make, so you might as well use it to full advantage here. I am actually going to curve my steam column, and you'll notice I can press 2 on my quick bar, and it instantly goes to. Now I am going to run the boilers this way, and then something I forgot to craft, we're going to need the burner inserters, which are going to be these guys here. Right here, yeah, these guys. can actually see my cursor on the screen, something else I forgot to enable. Sorry about that. Y'all are probably like, well, where's he clicking on the screen? This stuff's lighting up, but it's not actually showing. So, basic setup for this, inserters, as you can see, have two directions. The flat side is going to be where they take from, and the arrow is where they insert, just like everything else. So, just going to place those boys along there. The next thing we'll need is some transport belts for that. Now, these double craft. So, it says 27. I would actually get double of 27 for producing these. So, I'm going to start off with 10. Let this craft. And my steam engine column, I usually place just in a straight line. This time I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to loop it back onto itself just so I'm conserving a bit more room. And we are going to need a power pole in the middle of all that. So just to test kind of distances, going to put that there. And as you can see, it does take up a lot of room to produce that much power, and I don't nearly need this much power right now. I would just rather set it up ahead of time so I don't have to worry about it later, because you'll get in the middle of something and then you're like, oh crap, I'm out of power, and everything's running slow, and then you end up with what's called a death power spiral, where you run out of fuel and there's not enough water, and it's just bad. It's just bad news, and you definitely don't want that to happen. So we're going to set this up really quick. So how these work is the burner inserters will take off anything that passes by, and as of the 12 update, stuff doesn't fall off anymore. In 13, it's still the same as the 12 update, so the coal will actually slide down the belt until it reaches that point. So what I'm going to do now is, this is an electric mining drill right here, so we're going to build one of those. As you can see, it takes 3 electronics, 5 iron gears, and 10 iron plates, so 23 iron and 4.5 copper total. Now, when it says 4.5, what it does is it makes an extra copper wire, and we possibly could use that later if I accidentally disconnect the power system or something like that, which usually does end up happening at some point when I'm shift and control clicking around. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this rock so it's out of our way, and then we can start up our automation. Alright, in this mining drill, as you can see, the area around it is highlighted in green, and that's going to be its total mining area right there, and then the yellow is going to be the output drill. Now I'm going to kind of line this up a little bit so that I can run the belt, and that way I add on the second miner right next to it right here. I won't actually have to deal with moving that around. So just for now, I'm going to need a lot more transport belts. So we're actually going to need to pick up some iron, but while those are crafting, I'm actually going to run these down, and I prefer to make these all in straight lines if at all possible. It just makes it look a lot cleaner. As you can see, that doesn't have power, and I really don't want to give it power until I start auto-fueling the belt. And that's mainly just a personal thing. You don't have to do that. You can hand feed these generators as long as you like. I just prefer getting to a certain point and then being able to automate the factory. After that, it just makes it a lot easier on me. I'm going to get our iron plate. As you can see, that filled up a little bit too much, and our copper will probably be full. I'm going to go back and grab some of that really quick. It is actually this way though. As you can see, our map is becoming a little bit more revealed as we go. Once we unlock radars, that will actually show up a lot better, and we can see where the aliens are around us. Now, I talked a little bit about the aliens in the last episode and the pollution. Now, basically, if you click on an object or hover over it here, it will actually tell you the pollution stats over off under the map section. It's under pollution, so like these burner mining drills are really bad. They produce a lot of pollution. And that's really bad for a starting factory, to be honest. So the electric items are going to produce less, and then your furnaces actually produce 1.8, and then there's upgraded ones that produce a little bit more, so on and so forth. And then once you get into electric furnaces, it does take a great deal of power, but you do lower your pollution significantly. And we'll get into that in a little bit later of episodes. Hopefully, after it's honestly a preferred thing. I usually stick with steel furnaces. I don't really mess around with modules too much. I find them to kind of be a pain when it comes to the amount of resources they actually take to make. You'll be able to see that in later episodes. Just handcrafting some guys right now, and we'll get this going. Now, when you reach a point like this, your transport belts do have to connect. So as you can see, I'm rotating it around and it will rotate the direction. Now, if you come on a corner like that, it will actually rotate it around. Also, this will only feed to one side of the belt. It won't actually feed to both of them. And there's some ways around that once we start some research. There's actually splitters, and I'll show you a couple different splitter designs so that you can automate your factory a bit better with having stuff on both sides of the belt. And I'll show you also how to get items onto one side of a belt if you want to run 2 items down a belt. Alright, I need to go put some coal in at least one of these boilers. And that'll basically just start up the cycle for us. So that boiler activates, and that activates the steam engine. As you can see in the bottom right corner, it shows you the temperature that that one's currently at. And as more boilers get coal, as more boilers activate, they'll need a little bit more temperature down the line. But for right now, just that one boiler starting off is enough to get coal production going. As you see, the coal travels along the belt on that side. Burner inserter takes a bit of coal for itself, just so the burner inserter has power, because these again do require fuel, but since they're on a fuel line, I usually do that. Now I'm actually going to go ahead and triple this production. So I'm going to add 2 more mining drills, and that's just so I like these belts being very backed up because when we do start drawing power from building a lot of mining drills, starting up our production, we're going to want a lot of coal on this line so we don't get that death spiral that I was talking about earlier. And basically that death spiral is very bad news because you all of a sudden lose power, and it's a pain to get it back. A lot of hand feeding of items kind of thing. So we don't want that to happen, so I'm gonna double this up right now. And you don't have to do this, I just do it because I prefer the speed of the mining. I will put one and overlap the zones, but if you want to space it out, kind of conserve your resources a little bit, you can do that. It's one of those personal choices about Factorio. Now I'm actually going to show you a way to get things on one side of the belt. So say I have this coal here. I can either put it up a whole new line all the way until it hits there, or I can be a little more space efficient, turn that one this way, and then as it comes on, it'll go onto that side of the belt. Same thing with this one here. I can turn it that way and it'll go onto that side of the belt. And this is like your first form of combining belts and splitting belts is I'm now pushing material onto both sides of that belt. Now with electricity, if you need to check how much electricity you actually have, any poles connected to the network will be able to tell you. You just click on that here, and then over here you're going to have your consumption. So this is how much power we're using right now with those 3 mining drills. We got 269 kilowatts. And your production, your steam engines, and your solar panels, when we get into that later, will never use more power than they need. They will always use a specific amount. As you can see, only the one boiler is still firing because we're using so little power. As we go, these will start lighting up until we hit all 14 boilers, which basically is maxing out all 10 of these. And you don't want it maxed out too long because these run out of coal very fast. They start burning very inefficiently. As you can see, these things eat through coal. And the burner inserters also do not consume fuel while they're not moving. But back to power production really quick. As you can see, satisfaction is going to be how much your network needs right now. If this bar ever drops below production, that means you have a power shortage that you need to work on. And you can do that by adding another steam engine block like this, which you would have to add another pump, add another 14 boilers, and then go again. Now there is a way to do it where you can combine the pipes and add another 14 boilers and all that. I usually don't like doing that though. I just find that the water drain on the system is a little too much for the boilers to split up, and fluid mechanics in this game are kind of silly right now, so I don't necessarily like those. But we're going to go back to our iron over here. We're going to get a just kind of basic setup automated really quick. This is usually the point that I start setting up my furnace production, and these trees are really starting to annoy me, so I'm actually going to be switching on the mod in the next episode for tree collision, and I'll add the light mod because I don't know, with YouTube's compression rate, these might be uploading poorly, so we'll just see. Alright, headed over to our copper and just grab that. I'm actually heading over to our stone now because I just noticed it was out of fuel a second ago. So get our fuel in our hands and then we'll control click on over there. Again, getting stuck on lots of trees because of the collision. Open up the box. As you see, this one kind of just, I leave to run endlessly without actually messing with it all too much. This so that I can come over here anytime I need to. I can grab stone, keep it going. It's not necessarily being smelted into stone bricks, and we'll get into that later what those do. For now, I'm just going to grab a couple of stacks of that, and we're off again. Now, early game starting in a forest, one thing I really hate, and you've seen me struggle with so far in this game, is going to be the amount of tree clearing I have to do. It's very annoying and gets really annoying very fast. One of the few ways to do that is to rush towards military research with red and green science, which we'll get into probably next episode. We'll get into red science production, maybe after we get our smelters set up. Again, just going around, refilling everything, making sure everything's working. And we're good to go on the drills. I'm actually just going to go ahead and produce a lot of those. Come back up to our iron really quick. And I'm basically just doing this so that I can get a basic furnace setup going. And this will allow us to do automatic smelting, and what I usually do is put everything onto main belts, and then the main belts allow you to branch off from the main belt line and expand your factory around that. I just find it's easier to move materials around that way until we get up to the stage of robotic. And once we get the robotics, it's pretty much smooth sailing from there. So we're going to craft a couple of stone furnaces. I'm going to start out with a column of 10 just to show you a basic setup that I normally use. Now I learned this from a couple of different YouTubers. Arumba, Avac, and Mangled Pork I believe use this design, and Shin Rear as well. I'm going to make 10 for iron, and I'm going to make 10 for copper. Now, I set these up in equal amounts now, but I will probably end up doubling the iron at first, and then you'll see me double copper a bit later in the game probably. Now, for now, I'm going to make these... actually, I'm going to keep that line completely separate from the power production. That way I can only use that coal deposit for power production. I'm actually going to move up here, and we'll end up making our coal line about right here. As you can see, this is where handcrafting goes wrong. When you produce a lot of items, it takes forever, and you gotta reorganize stuff. Like, oh man, I really need a science lab right now so that I can get something researched or something like that. Yeah, you end up getting stuck on that, and then you're kind of SOL with that. You can't really produce anything else until these things are done, unless you cancel them, and you could just cancel them by with a right click to cancel 5 of them, a shift click to cancel all of them, or a single click and it'll cancel 1 of them. So if I shift clicked all those, it will cancel all 190 I think that are crafting right now. So back up here, we got a coal deposit here, coal here. Our main iron deposit is going to be right here, but it's covered in woods. Woods again. Everything is covered in woods on this map, so we did not get real lucky with the seed, but it is pretty good. This worries me a little bit. That means there's probably a desert over here, so once our pollution actually expands over there, as you can see, it is growing. As we expand our factory, it'll grow. The desert just carries pollution, and it is one of the worst environments to start in, but I should have known with the terrain being kind of like this, that it won't be great for starting. So let's go ahead and set up that furnace column. I'm just going to clear away a few trees first. And we will probably end up wrapping the episode after I do the furnace production here. Just trying to keep the videos a little bit shorter so we have a longer playthrough. And by no means are any of these setups efficient. They are just the best way that so far playing through I've found to do this. I've probably played through Factorio 7 or 8 times now, and I have a couple multiplayer games going with friends, but we're just kind of goofing around at this point, and I'm using setups that work for me and specific ratios that I know work, even once upgraded with modules and stuff, which I've kind of started playing around with on my main game. So my basic setup for furnaces, like I said, is copied kind of off of Shin and Avac and Mangled Pork and others that I've watched play Factorio before. So basic setup, you're going to have your fuel line up the middle, and then you're going to have your ore lines off to the side. Now you need to leave 1 spot of room here for an inserter, and then 1 over. So I'm going to go there. Oops, misplaced that. Going to go there. And then you want to leave 1 space in between, and then down you go. It's going to be 5, 2, 3, 4, place. Okay, now we got 5 on each side, so expand these transport belts down a bit. And notice that I left plenty of room for downward expansion here. You will always need to expand your furnaces just depending on production and everything. So I'm going to get this up real quick. Now again, this one is a little bit different. You'll notice later I'm setting these up so that I can expand them to electric furnaces. That's why we leave the space. And early on, when you don't have the proper inserters researched yet, this gets kind of finicky. So you're going to want to leave one space, and then I'm actually going to end up turning this guy like that. Again, just working my way up the column, and that will actually allow it to get on one belt like that. Now what this does is the electric furnaces are actually 3x3 instead of 2x2, so it just makes it an easier upgrade. I just come in, delete that guy, and we can paste that right in there. So let me finish this up real quick, and we'll pretty much stop it here. Now this is going to be the basic setup. I'm going to do a little bit of work off camera probably, and then we'll be moving into the next episode. This has been Chattanooga262, and thank you for joining me for the Factorio Let's Play. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm usually pretty good at responding, so have a good one, guys.